The NFL Draft Combine has just wrapped up, and yesterday was a big day for quarterbacks. That's when they got to show off their skills in the throwing drills. One quarterback who's starting to make a name for himself is Alabama's Jalen Milroe. He really impressed during the deep passing drills, showing off his arm strength. However, he did have some accuracy issues in certain drills. This morning, Vic Tare from The Athletic reported that Milroe did exceptionally well in his interviews, and when talking about how he reads plays before and after the snap. According to Tare, he stood out not just to the Raiders but to several other teams as well. This could make Milroe a name to watch in the draft. Speaking of the Raiders, there's a lot of talk about whether they should draft a quarterback this offseason. The big question is, with the team picking 6th overall, will they be able to grab a quarterback in the first round? Could Cam Ward or Shadir Sanders still be available? Or do the Raiders just go for the best player available and trade down? As for Milroe, while he hasn't shown he's a first-round talent just yet, he still has potential. He didn't perform as well at the Senior Bowl, but he had some solid moments at the Combine, even if there were a few rough patches. What was surprising, though, is that Milroe didn't run the 40-yard dash. If he had, many believed he could have clocked a 4.4, which is impressive for a guy his size, 6'0" and 220 pounds. If Jalen Milroe had run a 4.4 in the 40-yard dash, it could have definitely boosted his draft stock. Right now, though, it seems he's more likely to be a second-round pick. But as the draft gets closer, we'll have to see if his stock is rising or falling. Milroe is an intriguing prospect. His physical attributes are impressive, especially as a dual-threat quarterback. He's one of the most explosive and powerful runners in college football. When he takes off, it almost looks like a running back is carrying the ball. On top of that, he has a cannon for an arm, which really showed during the deep ball drills. Those aren't a problem for him. His biggest challenge, however, is his accuracy and consistency when throwing the ball, along with his decision-making as a potential pocket passer in the NFL. Milroe has a ton of upside, but he'll need time to develop. He'd be best in a situation where he can sit for at least a year, work on his mechanics, and get comfortable with an offense. He also needs to be under a coach who understands how to bring out the best in him, particularly with his mobility. That's where the Raiders could be a good fit. With Chip Kelly coming on board as their offensive coordinator, Milroe could thrive. Kelly has plenty of experience with mobile quarterbacks who can throw on the move, and he could build an offense around Milroe's strengths, like running read options and RPOs. One thing we can definitely say about Chip Kelly is that he's a bit of a quarterback whisperer. He's worked wonders with all kinds of quarterbacks, dual-threat guys, pocket passers, you name it. At one point, he even helped Mark Sanchez look like a solid quarterback during his time with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chip knows how to build an offense around the strengths of his quarterbacks, and that's a big deal. If the Raiders were to draft Jalen Milroe, it could definitely work out. However, he wouldn't be someone who would make an immediate impact. Milroe would need time to develop, but there's no denying the potential he has. Every year we see a prospect like him, raw, but with impressive physical traits. These kinds of quarterbacks often get hyped up and end up going in the first round. The one thing to be cautious about, though, is if Milroe's draft stock rises too much. If we hear more reports suggesting he could be a first-round pick, the Raiders might need to reconsider. We don't want a repeat of what happened with Anthony Richardson a couple of years ago. Early in the 2023 draft process, Richardson was considered more of a second- or third-round prospect. But as his draft stock soared, he ended up being selected much earlier than expected. I believe Anthony Richardson ended up being a top 5 pick, though I can't remember the exact spot where Indianapolis took him. But the key takeaway is that they reached for him. That's something the Raiders need to keep in mind when looking at a guy like Jalen Milroe. Honestly, it's hard not to compare the two. They're very similar prospects. Both are athletically gifted, with big, strong arms. But like Richardson, Milroe needs to improve his accuracy and become more refined as a pocket passer in the NFL. Now I get it, the NFL has been trending towards more athletic quarterbacks in recent years, and Milroe certainly fits that mold. But at the end of the day, you still need to be consistent in the pocket. You need to be able to throw with accuracy and make the right reads. For me, the most concerning trait when evaluating quarterbacks is accuracy. It's one of the hardest things to develop, and if it's off, it can really hold you back. Sure, you can have the strongest arm and be the fastest player on the field, but if you can't throw the ball in tight windows or hit your receiver in stride, you're going to struggle in the NFL. The windows are too small and NFL defensive backs are too fast. You won't get many wide-open throws, so accuracy is crucial. That's one area where Milroe needs to improve. He struggles with consistency on short and intermediate throws. Looking at his performance last season with Alabama, there were a lot of ups and downs. He had some great games, like the one against Georgia, but he needs to find more consistency. In that game against Georgia, Milroe showed what he's capable of, throwing for 374 yards, rushing for 117, and accounting for 4 touchdowns. Games like that definitely highlight the upside he brings to the table. But on the flip side, he also had some rough losses against Oklahoma and Michigan, where his limitations were on full display, especially when it came to processing under pressure and his accuracy throwing the ball. Another factor we need to consider is the Tom Brady effect. With Brady now in the building, he's likely to have a significant influence on who the Raiders select at quarterback. If you've ever heard Tom Brady talk about the quarterback position, you know he emphasizes the mental side of the game. He talks a lot about being able to read defenses, both pre-snap and post-snap, and that was always one of his greatest strengths. Given that, I wouldn't be surprised if Brady leans toward a more traditional pocket passer rather than someone like Milroe with his unique skill set. Of course, you never truly know what's going to happen, but it's something worth keeping in mind as the draft approaches. Now, Raider Nation, I'd love to hear what you think. Do you think there's a chance the Raiders could draft Jalen Milroe this year? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And for anyone new to the channel who loves Raider-related content like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next video.